Death is the final destination of finality. The story shrouded in the mystery of death will hold a true testament to the beliefs of groups throughout history and today. You're listening to Death the Show with your hosts, Chuck Banks and Ghost Bait.
I want to welcome everybody to another rendition of Death the Show with Chuck Banks and Ghost Bait. Tonight, you're in for a treat. You're in for a treat because we have the owner of the Cambre House and Farm, Rebecca Williamson. Rebecca, welcome to Death the Show.
Hey, how are you guys?
Hey, we're doing
good. How you doing, Rebecca?
Good.
We're doing phenomenal. We've been discussing Bigfoot for a while now here.
Fun.
Yeah, I mean, have you ever had a run-in with a Bigfoot?
I have not personally had a run-in with a Bigfoot, but it's possible. It could happen.
And I'm telling you, man, nestled in the woods there. Do you like how I went there? Nestled in the woods. Just across the border is the lovely Cambre House. Now, tell us about the history of the home a little bit here before we even talk about your first, ghost sighting in that particular area.
Yeah, so there's a ton of history out there. The house was built in 1867 by French Icarians Adolphe and Hortense Cambre. The Icarians were a communal society that came over from France in the 1850s. And they were in Nauvoo for a small period of time before they bought the farm in 1860. The house was finished in 1867. And 10 generations of Cambres lived in... 4 generations of Cambres lived in the home. There were 10 children. That's where the 10 came from. And then my grandparents bought the farm in 1979. They bought it with the intention of preserving the history of the farm. They loved history and they loved antiques, and they treated the farm kind of like a life-size dollhouse where they filled it with antiques, and we'd have family gatherings and events out there. And then after my grandparents passed away, I bought the farm in 2016. And then, said, oh, May, what did I just buy? And kind of, decided that if my grandparents had craft shows and we'd had cousins that got married out there, then surely I could have a few more weddings. And so I opened it up as a wedding venue.
And it's quite remarkable. We got to see actually 2 people that's getting ready to tie the knot at that particular place. But
yes,
the history though, we were smelling like apples. Okay, can you give a
cinnamon.
little? Oh, cinnamon. Yeah.
Yeah. So when my grandparents did craft shows out at the farm, they did. Hey, Nick. My grandmother brought cinnamon brooms out there, and they brewed this punch that had a lot of cinnamon and stuff in it. So that's kind of a scent that we associate with my grandmother. When, it's been 40 years since, well, actually 93, 94 was last year they had a craft show out there. So not quite 40 years, but still been quite a while since any of that cinnamon scent is out there. So when we get that cinnamon scent, that's usually my grandmother saying that she likes having people out there, or at least that's what we take it to mean.
Now, is there a spirit in the house that doesn't like profanity?
Not that I'm aware of, but it's possible.
Well, let's see. Stephen had an experience, and we'll talk about it here in a little bit. But
okay.
Now, so it's in the family. Did the property, has it always been in your family? And then how did you end up buying it?
Well, like I said, my grandparents bought it in 1979. And so it's been a part of my life for basically most of my life. And then I bought it after my grandparents had passed away. They were trying to decide what to do with it, and they decided to sell it. And so when they were talking about selling it, it was like they were talking about, if a family bought it, they would just have to totally gut it, completely remodel it. And I didn't want to see that happen. That the idea of them totally getting the house was just like broke my heart. Because, all the woodwork and all the windows are all original. The floor plan is the original floor plan to the 1860s. And I didn't want to see it lose that, that historic aspect of it. So yeah, I bought it to preserve it. I just wanted to continue my grandparents' legacy and preserve the history of the home.
Are you going to be having any craft shows out there?
Yes.
All right.
I have a craft show on Memorial Day. The Monday of Memorial Day weekend is my big craft show. And that's Monday, May 30th, from 10 to 4. So.
And, I'm going to guess that you have several weddings on the gambit as well.
Yes, I do. I do have several weddings. Like I said, I'm mainly an outside wedding venue, so it's mainly during summer months that I have weddings. So we're really gearing up for season right now. Things are pretty quiet till the end of the month, and then after that, then it's all busy. Wedding.
Yeah, and that's amazing. Now, when did you find out this place was haunted?
Yeah, so that's the big question. So my grandparents never thought of the farm as being haunted. That wasn't something that we ever talked about it happening. And, we had doors that opened and closed, but, it's just an old house. That's what they always said. It's an old house. And that's just kind of what happens in an old house. Doors open and close, right?
I'm here to tell you, folks. Oh, boy.
Chuck experienced that firsthand.
Not once, but twice.
And Nick, I was alone. Okay.
So that was going on definitely when they bought it. But we never talked about it being haunted. After I bought it, I spent the night out there for the first time. And it was like the eye-opening, okay, we got something going on here. Because, I never really spent the night out there. My grandparents didn't live very far away from the farm. And so if it was dark, then we just went to their house. And that wasn't something that we consciously thought about, oh, it's dark, we better go. And it was just like, oh, it's dark, it's getting bedtime, we better go to grandma's house, because that's where we were all spending the night. So I bought it and we spent the night out there, and my sister was with me. She spent the night upstairs in a bedroom. And then I had my daughter with me, and she was absolutely terrified. She did not want to sleep in that house for anything. She was very upset I was forcing her to sleep in the house. And the only room she would consent to sleep in was the living room. That was it. And so we slept that night on a twin-size air mattress in the middle of the living room floor. And I have an 8-year-old glued to my side, so I am not sleeping very well. I can tell you that right now. And my sister had a 6-month-old puppy with her, and so she had to take the puppy out in the middle of the night. And she walked literally 6 inches from my head as she went out the door to take the puppy outside. And I'm trying to close my eyes and pretend it's not going on because I don't want to get the puppy riled up and get my daughter woke up after I finally get her to sleep. So 3 times during the middle of the night, somebody had come down the stairs and goes out the front door and comes back in and goes back upstairs. And the next morning I told my sister, your puppy didn't do too bad. You only went outside 3 times. And she says, no, we only went outside twice. And I said, no, you didn't. You went outside 3 times. And she said, no, we did not. And it finally came to the conclusion after a lot of arguing that there really was 3 times, but one of those times was not my sister. And then we kind of went back to thinking about those door stuff, that basement door that Chuck got so freaked out about. would open so often that when my grandparents did craft shows, they stationed like some of the grandkids, namely me, by that basement door to make sure it would stay shut. It would open so often that, they just said, oh, make sure one of the grandkids is over there to make sure it will stay shut. And because it's an old house, as they said. And then the attic door opened by itself a lot too. And, they always just said, oh, well, somebody must have opened it. But, looking back at some of those things from a paranormal investigator standpoint, that was paranormal. That basement door shuts and latches, and when it does, it's very solid. You can pull on the door and wiggle it and shake it, and it will not open. But as I said, it opened often enough that they wanted one of us grandkids by the door to make sure it would stay shut. So, right around the time that I bought it, Chad Derry was starting Augusta Paranormal, and I went to high school with Chad. And so I messaged him and I said, hey, I bought this house. Do you want to come out and investigate it? I think we might have something going on. And he came out, and that was, at that point, we knew we definitely had activity because it was a crazy investigation, and it was wild.
Yeah. Did you notice my lights went out?
Yes,
I flipped a break. I flipped a breaker or something, maybe, or maybe it's that little doodad over there. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, we were talking about me being alone in the Cambre House, and
yeah,
Nick was laughing and stuff like that. So it's an amazing place, and it's one of the only places, and I think it's more like a jump scare. It's not really a fear for my life, but the first time I went out there, sure, Nick, Sue, and Brian and Amy, they had left to go eat, and I was nosing around, and I hear thump, in the back door. Do you hear that quite frequently?
There is a loud bang out there, a really loud bang, and I don't know what it is for sure. I've heard it enough times that I know to look for it. I mean, not look for it, but I know to expect it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
It doesn't surprise you anymore.
No, it doesn't surprise me anymore. There was one time when we finished investigating, and Chad was downstairs in a bed and I was upstairs in a bed. It was just the two of us in the house, and we were woken up we'd been investigating until probably about 1 or 2 o'clock, and about 3 o'clock in the morning, the loud bang wakes both of us up. And Chad's like, is that you? Are you okay? I'm like, that wasn't me. He's like, what was that? I'm like, I'm not sure. He's like, should we check? I'm like, we're good. Go back to sleep.
Oh man. Yeah. It's amazing. And it's different every time you go in there, isn't it?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's always something going on out there. I always have a new story to tell. I mean, every single time I'm out there, it seems like there's a new story. Something different going on. There was one time that I was sitting downstairs, like waiting for a wedding couple to show up. And I hear the door upstairs kind of like swing, opening and closing. The attic door was opening and closing. And, I was just kind of sitting downstairs. I'm like hearing it swing. And then it occurs to me, I'm alone in the house. and the windows upstairs aren't open. and so I go upstairs, and the attic door is opening and closing repeatedly by itself. I did get that on video. But yeah, they were just playing with the door. And there's, one of the times we were out there getting ready for a craft show, and it was storming. And so all the crafters were just getting there, but they were sitting in their cars because it was a downpour. And I was in the house with Jamie, and it was just the two of us in the house. And we're kind of standing by the door waiting for the downpour to stop so we can go out and greet the crafters that are showing up. And I hear footsteps walking around upstairs. and clear as a bell. And Jamie and I are both standing there. And finally I look at Jamie and I'm like, do you hear the footsteps upstairs? She's like, yeah, who's up there? And I'm like, Jamie, we're the only ones in the house. And she's like, oh, yeah, we are, aren't we?
And Stephen and I were sitting downstairs when I was trying to get my bearings back. I was eating a little pizza and waiting on the rest of the short bus paranormal team to get back, and we heard it, man. Footsteps going crazy upstairs. Almost sounded like a party for a little bit.
Yeah, and footsteps are one of those things that we hear a lot at the house. It's just, and like I said, that one time Jamie was just kind of like, she didn't even pay attention to it. It was just like, oh yeah, those are footsteps. But like, sure, they are footsteps, but those are paranormal footsteps. So yeah.
At all the years that you've been investigating it, what names tend to come through the most?
My grandfather's name comes through a lot, Relly. Which that one, again, I get really excited when I hear my grandfather's name, just because. Lately, though, we've been hearing David a lot. I know you guys caught David. Yeah. I've had several of the last several paranormal teams have caught David several times. And David is my uncle, actually, who passed away about 3 years ago. So that's kind of exciting to be able to catch his name out there. To think that my grandfather and my uncle are both out there kind of watching over stuff is pretty exciting. So,
Brian?
I do. So me and Chuck and Nick, we went down the basement.
Yeah.
Kind of looking around and stuff. Why is there like a little room built underneath the steps?
That was a wine cellar.
Okay.
So, French, they grew grapes and they made wine. And yeah, that was like their little private wine cellar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought either that or if you're a really bad kid, you were underneath the steps.
Yeah, I don't think it was kids. There at one point there was a wine rack thing in there, but it kind of fell apart. I mean, it's kind of an older house.
Yeah, right.
I've got video evidence too. I'm going to have to share with you so you can share on your TikTok and all that sort of stuff too.
For sure.
It's when my video camcorder was downstairs and Steve and I were upstairs. Well, I said, we're going to go upstairs. And then 10 seconds later, you hear,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Was that, you were in the basement?
Well, and the camcorder was in the basement, kind of pointed up towards the door. But you hear,
I caught something similar to that in the upstairs bathroom. I was actually filming for the world's largest ghost hunt, and we had the REM pod in that upstairs bathroom, and it kept going off. I mean, like repeatedly. And so I took the video camera and put it in there, and I caught that really loud sigh from that upstairs bathroom. So that's kind of cool that you caught it downstairs in the basement too.
Yeah, and a couple other things. We were sitting in the dining room. What's the deal with the dining room and how electric it can feel at times?
I'm not really sure. I know that a lot of times they'll see my grandfather in the dining room. He's been actually seen several times standing in the dining room. I don't know, but beyond that, I'm not really sure. I know that that was the room that they let out a lot. So like it was part of the stagecoach route, and so they would occasionally have stagecoach travelers that would stop. And I have documentation that was the room that they let out. So
yeah, so we're talking thousands of people, coming in that particular location.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm here to tell you, folks, if you want to get some good, investigative quality with the paranormal, you got to check out the Cambre House, and we'll talk about how you can, get a hold of Rebecca on that a little bit later. But
yeah,
now
highly recommend it. Very good place to investigate.
Man,
thanks, guys.
now where in the house do you get the most activity?
So I've gotten activity in like every single room. I mean, at this point, every room I've had activity in. I will say that the upstairs large room, the room at the very top of the stairs, that bedroom is usually the most active. But I think it only beats it out by a small margin. I mean, everything else is just so active, but typically if things are pretty quiet, I'll go up to that upstairs bedroom and it picks right back up. So,
and we got quite a bit where you got the open forum upstairs, but then you walk into the other bedroom.
Yes.
It's
yes.
We lost Brian.
Oh, we lost Brian.
He disappeared. Doggone guy. Must be the Iowa interwebs. Illinois' got to be better, right?
Obviously. Illinois' got to be good for something, I guess.
Oh, it's a good state. I'll throw it out there. Yeah. But how many times a year does Chad get out there and investigate?
Chad gets out there several times a year. Usually, if when I have my events in October, he'll be out there, and then in June for sure when I do the paranormal fair thing that I call it. And then he usually gets out there probably about 3 or 4 times besides those. So yeah, he's out there quite a bit.
And do you have some of those fairs coming up this summer, or is it more just...
Yeah. Paranormal fair, it's kind of like a paranormal expo where I'll have different teams and booths and stuff. And then that night we'll have a big open investigation where everybody stays and investigates. And that is June 18th this year. So
June 18th. Well, I'll definitely mark that down. I think,
yes.
I got to get over and help out because it's amazing. There he is.
There's Brian.
That was strange. Evidently, my phone cannot be run on this for 2 hours or over an hour. Instead, it got too hot and I lost connection. I lost internet, said my phone got too hot.
Brian, I figured it was ghosts.
It could have been.
Okay, so Nick said REM pod and music went off a lot in the larger bedroom at the top of the stairs. Yes, it was.
Yeah.
And
we have a ton of activity in that big bedroom upstairs. I mean, like I said, everything is active. I don't want to say that, it's that room is slightly more active, but like everything is active. So
outside included.
Well, we haven't even brought up the outside yet. That's kind of the second part, Brian. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm right on cue, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so outside is like a whole separate ball game. When I bought the property, I got a ton of history from my grandmother, and they'd done just a ton of research to put the property on the National Register of Historic Places, and I got all that research. And in amongst all that stuff was a little snippet that said there was an Indian burial pit on the property, or Indian burning pit is what she called it. And that she really didn't know much about it, which is kind of unusual for my grandmother because she kind of dug until she found out things. But this thing she really didn't know much about, and I had a kind of a sketchy picture of my uncle's hat in this depression in the ground, and I really didn't know much about it myself. I didn't recall hearing anything about it, and it took me like quite a while to kind of like stumble around in the woods and finally found it. And it was a depression in the ground about 20 foot around, a circular, perfect circle, about 20 foot around depression. And it was like, okay, well, what on earth is this thing? And if you Google Indian burning pit, there is just like no such thing. It does not exist. Indians did have powwows and campfires and stuff, but they would never have had anything quite that large because it's just a waste of resources. And like they did cremations, yes, but again, they would not have wasted resources like that. So I did like some research into like other Native American things in my area, and there is a Indian Mound Cemetery is about 3 miles away from me as the crow flies, and it has 35 Indian mounds. And when I was looking at the pictures of that, they looked exactly like what I had. Depressions in the ground instead of like mounded things. Train again, sorry.
It's all good.
So yeah, they're depressions in the ground, and come to find out, around the 1820s, all of the Indian mounds in my area were dug up. All the artifacts and bones were sold in the black market. So yeah, that was kind of like a weird feeling to find out I have desecrated Indian mounds on my property. And so the cemetery that on Sycamore Haven Road is designated as a public cemetery, and they have the local Native American Council come out and do a blessing ceremony. So I contacted the local council. Standing Bear Council out of Keokuk came out and did a blessing ceremony for me. They confirmed that I have 2, possibly 3 mounds on the property. And like I said, did a really nice blessing ceremony. I chose not to have mine designated as a public cemetery because I've got some pretty steep ravines out there, and I wasn't super comfortable with having people wander around on my property. So yeah, it's a little ways separate from the house, and I typically don't do events stuff out on that portion of the property, just kind of as a respect thing. Yeah. But the rest of the yard is super active, and I think it's mainly comes from that area of the property.
Do you ever get like intense mood changes out there?
Usually it's like a feeling of peace. When people come out there, every single person, no matter what they're out for, at some point just kind of says, it's just so peaceful here. I can almost time it, they all just kind of do this. Oh, it's so peaceful here. And that, like I said, that energy I kind of attribute to the Native American stuff.
I was in the backyard. Like I said, I was alone, not this year, but last year. And I'm walking and I hear a lot of footprints. So I'm immediately thinking, man, there's like a cougar out here going to bite me, but didn't see a cougar. So I'm going to guess it probably was the Native Americans.
Possibly. We have a lot of reports of footsteps following along in the woods. Like
yeah, that was the thing too when we were there the last time. Well, it'd been the first time we were there actually. That we were outside, and then this me, Nick, and Chuck were walking around, and yeah, every place we went out, especially towards that riverside of the house, there's always something following us, or we could hear footsteps in the leaves and stuff. Yeah,
you just hear these footsteps in the woods, and it could be an animal, but why would an animal follow you? Right. I mean, usually if you scare up an animal in the woods, it runs off.
They're more scared of you than you are of it, usually.
Right. And then, like, one of the times that I have been the scaredest out there, the scaredest time at the farm, it was after dark, and I left my cell phone charger in the car and parked out by the barn. And my sister was with me again, and she said, well, I'll walk out to the car with you. Neither one of us wanted to walk out to the car all by ourselves out from the house to the barn after dark. And we get halfway, and it was a cougar or a big cat scream that came out of the ravine, like right beside us. And oh my gosh. Scared.
So that'd be like where you got that platform built for, like,
just past that, where I got that platform built. In between that platform and the barn is where we heard that scream. And oh my gosh, I'm telling you what, that will get your blood pumping like nothing else. And of course, we were far enough from the house where we didn't want to turn around and go back, but we were far enough from the car that we didn't want to run to that. And so we just like stood there and like panicked for a little bit trying to figure out which way to run, and we finally decided, well, we probably better get that cell phone charger, because if we needed to call for help, we'd need to start charger pretty fast. So oh my gosh, but I can't tell you how scared that made me, just hearing that scream, and it sounded like it was just right next to me. Oh my gosh.
Now I got to tell you a story, because Nick, he had to let the cat out of the bag. He said unless it's a raccoon going after Chuck. Now there was this raccoon in Wymore, Nebraska, Rebecca, and this thing this thing had to have been 8 foot around. I don't know. And
oh my God, you're so full of it.
Yeah, Brian, tell them the real story.
It wasn't
much bigger than a pet cat. He's such a drama queen. It wasn't much bigger than a pet cat.
the damn thing was fat, man.
But okay. Fast, yeah.
Oh, okay. So we're at the halfway point. So I got to do the answer to the question. Let's see. I got to bring up this first. All right. So the question of the week. We're going to see if Rebecca knows it. Okay. The question of the day. I guess I don't know why I have week in the day. What year was the first Bigfoot sighting in the United States?
I don't know. So this is a guess. Okay. I think it was 67, but that's a wild guess.
Okay. You guys ready? Drum roll, please. No one got it right this week, by the way. All right. So 170 years ago, an Arkansas wild man terrified residents of that state. The first published report was 1846. Okay. Now, unless there was a man in Arkansas about as big as Shaquille O'Neal, it was Bigfoot or a giant. All right. So no one gets the thing today, but because Rebecca came on the show and we did the Cambre House, I'm going to put her name in for the drawing.
Okay. Yeah, no, I would not have guessed that. I mean, I was thinking the 60s because that video or whatever, but.
All right, here he is. He had to come see me. Okay, this is not an X-rated show. You can't use that. Okay, all right, get out of here. Okay, so now we're back. Sorry, folks, for the Bigfoot talk and my dog coming and molesting me on my show as we're live here with Rebecca. But anyway, you're listening to Depth the Show on the Odyssey Radio Network. Tonight we have Rebecca Williamson, the owner of the Cambre House. And you know what? Let's go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. Let's talk events this year. I know we briefly talked about it, but let's talk about dates if you have them.
Oh yeah, sure. So my first event this year is kind of what I call the Muggle event. So it's a craft show, kind of in honor of my grandparents and the craft shows they always had out there. That is the Monday of Memorial Day weekend, so May 30th. That's from 10 to 4, and the house is open. It's free to tour the house. I have crafters and stuff out in the yard, and then I have a food truck, and this year I have a band. So it's kind of a fun time just to come and hang out at the house. So that's kind of what I consider my opening weekend. Then after that, June 18th is the Paranormal Fair. We kind of already talked about that briefly, but I have different vendors out in the yard, like paranormal teams, some haunted locations and stuff all out in the yard. And then that night we do like a big paranormal open investigation where a lot of the teams stay, and we look for ghosts all night long.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We have a good time with it. And then let's see, July 7th, Holly and Dallas of Appalachian Roots are coming to do an intuitive retreat weekend. That should be a lot of fun. They're just going to kind of like work on some intuitive gifts and stuff, meditations and fun stuff. And then let's see.
And Holly's a hoot.
Oh, Holly and Dallas are so much fun. We're going to have a really good time with that. I'm looking forward to that one. And then July 30th, I believe. Don't have my calendar in front of me, so I'm guessing. I think it's the 30th. Hey, Carol from Paranormal Buzz Radio is coming. She's actually coming.
Wow.
All the
Oh
way
my
out
God,
here.
you got her to come to Iowa, or well, Illinois, I guess, but
Illinois. We'll drag her over to Iowa for a hot minute. Kelly McCarville's planning on being there that weekend too. We're kind of still working on exactly what we're doing, but I know there's an investigation that weekend. So it should be a lot of fun.
Man, and we'll have to chat. My people are going to have to contact your people about
right, yeah.
maybe another event that we can put together. But anyway,
oh yeah, and then of course October is Ghost Tours.
Yeah.
Ghost Tour October. So yeah, fun. Trying to think which weekends those are. Those are October 7th, and then October 15th. I've got Ryan Singer and Karen Rontowski coming. They're paranormal comedians, and we're going to investigate too, of course. But yeah, that should be a fun weekend.
Paranormal comedian. That sounds like me alone in the house. I'm just sorry.
Right.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
So, what were your thoughts when you saw that video for the first time?
Of Chuck alone in the house. I'm like, finally, somebody caught that on camera.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I tell those door stories all the time. Like, I have door stories for days. So to actually get a door on camera is pretty exciting because I think people sometimes think I make this stuff up, but no, it's exciting to catch that on camera finally.
I know for a fact because I was by myself, Nick Pishusta. That door opened twice. Holy smokes! It's amazing. That house has made me I was a believer to begin with, don't get me wrong, but when that stuff just smacks you in the face. I did have a friend of mine on TikTok saying, well, you shouldn't be scared. It's not feeding off your fear. I said, that's not really what it meant. It's more like adrenaline.
Oh, yeah, no, because...
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you were looking for that type of stuff to happen, but so many times we just sit there and nothing happens at all that it's pretty cool when it does. You get really excited. Well,
what's amazing about the Cambre House, guys and gals that are listening out in the airwaves lands, this place, I mean, if you're going to certain spots to find evidence, this is the place you want to go because it again, it's almost like it plays off who goes in the house, like different things and things,
right, definitely.
Things that go bump the night.
My ghosts definitely enjoy it. I mean, they absolutely love it when I have investigators out there. They just, it's like they get excited and they're like, oh yay, somebody to play with. And, it just seems like they get really excited and they just enjoy having that interaction. So.
And what's funny is they were calling my name out a little bit this time, Chuck. So they know who I am now, which
Yeah. We caught one time a Facebook Live. Kelly McCarville and Chris Nielsen were upstairs doing a Facebook Live, and Chad Derry was not there. But he was kind of like, he popped into the chat real quick, and Kelly said, hi, Chad. And Chris was doing the Estes method at that time, and he said Derry. And everybody's going, yeah, Chad's here. And then he said Chad, and then he put it together in his head what he was saying, and he's like, Chad Derry.
It's just phenomenal. I don't know. Words cannot describe number one, how beautiful the place is.
Thank you.
How beautiful the soul of the woman that owns this place, and then
thanks.
and then obviously the paranormal activity. It's through the roof. And it's not like demonic, scary paranormal. This is good.
No, I always tell people I don't have axe murders. I'm not the axe murder house. That's not what we're doing. Yeah, it's not. It's not like creepy, scary, haunted. It's more like Casper haunted, Casper running around and just excited that somebody's there to interact with him,
And Nick reminds me, it did open a third time when we were all together in the living room. Yeah, and he's right. So 3 times. We won't mock the number 3. All right, so let's talk about the original guy, Adolf, because we did get his name through, and what was interesting is we did get some language like from the French, which he was.
Right, and a lot of times, like background noise on the spirit boxes seems like it's French, like them talking to each other. We get that a lot. It seems like. So Adolf, he was kind of a neat guy. He came over first to New Orleans, spent a little bit of time there, caught yellow fever. Then after he recovered from that, he went back to France. Married Hortense and came back with his brother and his mom, and they came through New Orleans up to Nauvoo. And like I said, they were part of that Icarian movement. Basically, the original hippie commune. When you think of hippie commune, that was the Icarians. So he came up there. They said that during Adolph's lifetime, he traveled the entire length of the Mississippi River. And he considered my property now, the Cambre Place, to be the most beautiful spot on the entire river. So,
and we're getting down to the last 10 minutes here. Now, I want to talk about the quality of the water, because Native Americans used to come there for that, right?
Right. So there is actually a mineral spring on the property. It's kind of down in the ravine off the big patio area. But yeah, it was a natural mineral spring, and it was used by Chief Blackhawk and several of the Native Americans as a mineral spring, as a healing spring. And then it was a picnic spot during the Cambre time. Definitely that mineral spring was a picnicking area. They said at one time there were like 4 riverboats that would come during the weekend to picnic there on the beach down below the river, down below the house. But yeah, there's this really cool mineral spring there. There's a jar of water right now on top of the refrigerator that my son pulled up from.
Which moved, by the way.
Did it?
Yes.
He pulled that up 2 years ago, and you'll notice that water is still crystal clear.
Yep.
Yeah. Which is kind of weird for water you just dip out of the stream to have it still crystal clear 2 years later.
Usually you get some kind of funk in there, and it's still stay. You can literally look. You can pop the lid and take a drink.
Yeah.
Have you ever drank the mineral springs water?
I have. I went down there and drank it one time, and it's not good water. It really is. Okay,
so one of these times, if you'd let me, I'd like to drink some of that water. See if my great.
I love spring water, fresh out of a spring like that. Yeah,
I know. Everybody's asking me I should bottle water. One day.
Call it.
I don't want to do that.
Call it Cambre Springs.
When I win the lottery, I will bottle mineral water.
That's phenomenal.
It's a little cost prohibitive to start bottling water.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Oh man. So Brian, what do you got?
Just can't say how much. It's definitely a place we need to go to more. So we will be scheduling more investigations at the Cambre House for you.
Yeah, that investigation you guys had was pretty active. It looked really cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Definitely worth the 2 nights. It'd be worth 2 nights in a row.
Yeah.
You looking at doing anything in Nauvoo again?
Yeah, for sure. I'm working on November 5th. I have Misty and Ashley Connor, the Connor sisters, are coming, and we're going to investigate the hotel and a few of the little downtown businesses. And I think I'm working on trying to get that more through the winter. It's really hard to get out to the farm in the winter, but and Nauvoo is kind of closed, so having access to all those closed businesses is really cool.
Oh my goodness! I know this guy by the name of Chuck that lives pretty close. Chuck? Yeah, he lives pretty close though. give me a holler because I'm not coaching basketball this year. So
Okay. Oh, yes, I will for sure then.
oh my goodness, yeah. That's and there's a spot in Nauvoo where there's like a well, right?
Oh, yeah. So that is the Tomb of Joseph, and we will be doing that in November. That is kind of like a controversial spot. They found that in 2020. It's underneath. It kind of goes underneath the road, but it's like this. What they think is Joseph Smith's tomb that he built to be put in. His body was never put in there. But they did this big excavation and dug it all out, and they made it into a museum. And there's this well in there, and it's pretty neat. We had a kind of really weird investigation down there, so I'm kind of looking forward to doing that again.
Do you think that might have been connected to the mineral springs?
Possibly. I'm not really sure.
Man.
But
it is right down the river from them.
Yeah.
And then there's just a ton of places there in Nauvoo, right?
There's just a ton of old buildings and stuff there, and it's such a really neat place that I'm excited to do more investigations in town.
And
let's help with some stuff again down there. Get hold of us. I'm sure we'd be glad to come down and help you again.
Okay, yes, I will for sure.
Being a Mormon community, it's kind of weird that they would be open to paranormal investigations.
I was really surprised that they were open to it, but Mormons are really big into Halloween. They do like a baptism of the dead. That's really kind of neat. So it kind of plays on into some of their beliefs too. So yeah, they're very supportive of what I do. Well, they're not always into it, and definitely some aspects of the paranormal stuff they're not into, but they're very supportive. So.
What's the baptism of the dead? Do you know much about that?
A little bit. So they believe that in order to get to heaven, you must be baptized, and that everybody should be baptized. So people who have passed away shouldn't be left out of the baptism. So they will do genealogy research and find all their relatives to do a baptismal ceremony. Somebody stands in for the person who has passed away, and they do a baptism of the dead. That is why Mormons, LDS people, are so into genealogy, because they are looking for all their relatives to baptize them into the Mormon Church.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of like if you look at the last rites, maybe with Catholicism and how that ties up. Well,
it's a different belief, but whatever, more power to them.
Yeah. So we're getting down to the nitty gritty. How can people book the Cambre House either for a wedding, an event, or this magical thing called paranormal investigating?
Yeah, paranormal investigating. So I have a website. It's cambrehouse.com. You can also contact me on Facebook at Cambre House. I'm Cambre House on Instagram, and then of course on TikTok I'm Cambre House as well. At this point, if you type Cambre into a search engine, I should pop up somewhere. So, and
I did start a hashtag Cambre.
Yay!
Okay, on TikTok. So
oh gosh, yeah. I think I might have used it a couple times, but I don't know if I remember to do it all the time.
And Brian, he laughs, man, because he was saying, man, you got to go investigate, Chuck, because it's all the same old crap. But no, it's not anymore, baby. We're rocking and rolling.
Yeah, no, I was really excited to get your video because, my TikTok has got a lot of cat videos on it.
There's nothing wrong with that.
But yeah, I'm working on getting some more paranormal investigative videos up there. So yeah.
Well, let's fill it up. Now, how much is it for an overnight investigation if people were, wanting to look into that?
Yeah, it's $200 for an overnight. That's up to 10 people. It's kind of a smaller location. So really, if you get more than 10, it ends up being, you're kind of tripping over each other. So if you want a good investigation, I recommend it or 10. But you're more than welcome to do more than that. I mean, like I said, when we do the big open investigations, we definitely have more than 10. So, I mean, it's such the outside part of it is so big, you could definitely do more people. So
what, like, do you ever rent it by the hour?
I haven't, but I could. I'm not opposed to that.
Okay. I mean that sounded bad. That's like going to those sleazeball. No, I'm just kidding. It's not like that, folks. But no. Hey, we're definitely gonna have to have you back on, and one of these days we need to do a live show out there.
Oh yeah, that would be fun.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome, Chuck. You bet.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So, do you have any shout outs besides maybe to Chad Derry?
Chad Derry, Ghost Paranormal. For sure. And, Short Bus Investigation, that was really cool. And REP was the week before that, and they had an awesome investigation as well. I mean, yeah, it's so much fun to watch the teams out there asking the equipment to stop going off. Can you make that stop? I mean, how many times do you see paranormal teams ask the equipment to start, and at Cambre they're always like, can you make that REM pod stop?
Well, folks, as we near the end here, Death the Show with Chuck and Ghostbait, tonight, the Cambre House. If you've not booked, your stay at Cambre House, check it out. You're not going to be disappointed. Check out her TikToks. She's renovating this place, and it's tip top, and it's an A plus.
I bought a house in Nauvoo that I'm turning into some Airbnb rentals. So I have had a lot of renovation TikTok videos lately. Sweet.
Yeah. So, guys, be sure to check us out Wednesday night. We've got Karen Dahlman on her birthday. For everybody with Death the Show, we're out of here.